Welcome to Life Mastery for Women, where I help you decode the struggles in your life in the areas of health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality with mind mastery, emotional management, and meditation. Welcome to today's podcast. Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode where I hope I am finding you in total acceptance of yourself. If you are not in total acceptance of yourself, then it is my intention that in today's episode, I give you just one nugget of inspiration towards your transformation. When I was younger, I was constantly seeking my mother's approval, my mom's approval. Look what I did, look what I created, look at how great I am, look what I can do all the time. And of course, just like every mother, you're busy. You don't have all day long to constantly, 100% of the time, show your kids how great they are. It happens, right? We get busy. We get in our own stuff. Sometimes we're just busy with our stuff. We're doing the household chores, we're making dinner, and they come to you for the 53rd time and say, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. And you're like, okay, honey, I've seen that 16 times. Can you go play, right? So everybody means well. But unfortunately, it creates this distance within ourselves from ourselves. We are distant from ourselves. Once we get into school, we start seeking our teacher's approval. Then once we get to the dating age, or just a little bit older, middle school, we start seeking our friends' approvals. Then when we get to the dating stage, we start seeking our boyfriends or our girlfriends' approval. And then as we get older, we start seeking our boss's approval. When we get married, we start seeking our husband and wife's approval. When do we become first, where our approval matters? So I was making a post in I'm a part of this business group right now, a coaching group where I'm the participant and I'm being coached in business and mindset work, which is really funny because their mindset work is unlike what I do and what I teach. And it's actually quite humorous in not a very good way. I don't think their mindset work is really helping people. But anyway, so as I was making this post, I was thinking I should post this in my coaching group in our private page and ask for feedback. And then I'm standing there and I'm looking at it and I'm reading it, because when I make a post, I put a lot of thought into what is it that I'm trying to convey. And I came up with this post that's like a conversation between two people. And as I'm reading it, I'm like feeling it. I'm feeling the power of this post. And I found a picture that was equally as powerful, and I just completely resonated with what I was posting. And then I'm standing here and I'm thinking, I should post this in the Facebook group and find out what they think. What's at the base of that? You got it. I was trying to seek some approval. So whether my peers or whether my coach or any of our I guess they're coaches, but the other people that give us feedback for our content that we're putting in to help build a business, they give us feedback about what we're creating. And so they say, if you're making a post, if you're sending an email, if you're creating content, you can share it in our group, and one of the coaches will give you feedback like, yeah, that sounds good, or maybe you should be a little bit clearer about this message, or whatever they say. And so as I'm standing here and I'm reading this post, I'm like, what am I wanting from them? And I said to myself, I want them to say, wow, that's a really great post. Like, that's powerful and I can feel it, and that's a great post. And then I immediately think, okay, what if they don't? Then I would probably delete the post. And they would give feedback that says, well, maybe you should write it this way, or maybe it shouldn't be as long, or maybe you should blah, 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 whatever their advice or their difference in perspective might be. Well, here's my thought about that. I'm the one creating the post. I'm the one trying to reach my audience. I'm trying to reach these women that are in pain. And they're in pain physically, they're in pain emotionally, and they want to get unstuck. They are in some form of pain and they want to get unstuck. And in that feeling, I want to tell them, I'm here. I'm standing right here with my arms open, with a platform, with a community, with a container to assist you, to support you, to love you through this process authentically and in 100% acceptance, no matter where you come into my community. And I have already helped all of these women where they come in and they just don't know what they're doing, and they're having a really hard time with their relationships or financially or in their jobs or in their household with their kids, whatever. And we are helping them because we're supporting one another. I have created this space, and I want to convey that message. And so why would I take this post and go over here and say, hey, why don't you peel this apart? When really all I want is acceptance. But why is my acceptance not good enough? And so I decided, if I really want acceptance, then why is my acceptance not enough for me that I have to go seek outside acceptance? Because what's going to happen if they do peel it apart, that I'm now not going to listen to my own tuition, that I think somebody outside of me is more accurate, more right in building my business. And of course, that is simply not true. From my perspective, and I tap in intuitively, and it feels amazing. I get the result that I want intuitively, and then I go, you know what? This is the post I want to make. Okay. Now I know this is kind of a weird, nebulous, kind of a who cares who's talking about Facebook posts, but the point is that I attempted to seek someone else's perspective and someone else's thoughts about something that I was already in tune with. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever, where you really liked something, it tasted really good, it felt really good, you were in alignment with it, and then you asked, hey, what do you think about this? Like, I think this movie is so amazing, it was inspirational, and I really got a lot out of it, and it was really cool, and I really liked the characters, and the storyline was great. What did you think? And then that person goes, wow, that movie was kind of dumb, and it was sort of boring, and I didn't get anything out of it. Do you then second guess your feelings? Or do you have enough confidence to stand by what your original thought was? Sometimes we waver, and sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it can go on the opposite, where you're throwing out a limiting belief or a belief that you have about yourself that just isn't true. Like, oh man, this business is so hard, or my job sucks so bad, or my life is so terrible. And then someone says, your life really isn't that terrible. You have kids that love you. You have a spouse that you adore. Yeah, your job might be terrible right now, or you might want some changes in your life, but the rest of your life is not terrible. And then you're like, oh yeah. But when we are in alignment with something, do we have the confidence to stand by the thing that we are in alignment with, where somebody can pull us off task? Where someone can pull us and say, you know what, maybe that's not so true. So I love sports. I played all the sports that were available to me as a female in my school. I played softball in the summer. I played basketball in the winter. I played volleyball in the spring, or basketball in the fall, and volleyball in the winter. And I ran track in the spring. So I was very busy. I loved practice. I loved everything about the team sports. And I was awkward as a kid. I was kind of the younger version of my peers. I have a September birthday, and I think mom was like, great, you're 5, boom, out you go. Even though I think academically I was not ready. Socially, I was completely awkward. I did not feel like I fit in with my peers. I felt like I was always just behind the joke. Sometimes I was the joke, but I was just always behind, in that sense where I was always saying, like, I don't get it. Like, they'd be all together laughing about stuff, and I'm like, I don't get it. So I always felt behind in that way. But I played sports, and I'm very enthusiastic. Like, I really just love sports, and I love cheering. And I remember playing different sports, and I'd be like, let's say softball, I'd be up to bat, and I'm getting ready and watching the pitch come in, and somebody's in the stands or in the audience. They're like, come on, Jen, you could do it. Let's get a homer. Bring them all in, Jen. And they're saying something. And I don't know. I don't turn around and look to see which parent it is or who's yelling my name. But deep down, it feels good. So we're at Cameron's game, and I was there early, so he was already there practicing, and he was standing out catching the foul balls. They were doing some batting practice, and I came up and I was standing next to him and talking to him, and there's been lots of talk since he's played baseball. He's like, Jen, I just want you to be my coach. I think that would be so cool. I think it would be really fun. I'm like, honey, there aren't very many female coaches that coach, boys baseball. He's like, but you played softball for so many years and you're so good at it. And, the stuff that you're teaching me and I'm really learning, I really think that you could help our team and whatever. And a lot of times their coaches are just some of the boys' dads. And sometimes the coach just doesn't engage during the game. Like there's very little conversation like while the game is playing. And so I'm standing on the sidelines and talking to a couple of the boys. I'm like, because they can steal the bases. And I'm like, hey, Liam, come up and stand next to third base. And you can, when he's leading off, you can be on the base and maybe you guys could get him out. So I'm giving a couple of tips, right? And, then the kids are up to bat. We're like, come on, Mike, let's get it, whatever. And I've never physically been introduced to these kids, but I know their name because we've been playing this whole season together. And I'm not their coach. So anyway, now I'm standing next to Cameron and he basically tells me that you're kind of a little too enthusiastic. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's just like, well, like when you're yelling, you're standing on the sidelines and you're yelling the boys' name, that can be a little embarrassing. And I'm like, I said, are you kidding me? I said, so you want me to be less enthusiastic? And he's like, well, it's just kind of a little embarrassing. The boys don't know you. They've not met you. And I'm like, okay. I said, when I played, I loved hearing my name. I loved it when I was running down the court and basketball, I just stole the ball and I'm running down for the layup. And somebody would be like, come on, Jen. I could hear their name. And I'm like, I thought that was so amazing. And so you're telling me you don't want me to say their name. So here's another opinion from somebody else that's saying something about how I'm showing up in the world, how I'm portraying myself. Well, here's my question to you. Do you like you? Do you like yourself? Would you be friends with you? Would you like to hang out with yourself? Do you like to engage with you? I mean, a lot of times, if you're really social, like I don't really like being alone. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be with myself for the rest of my life. So I'm going to learn to be my best friend, right? And it took me a long time to get there. I'm not saying that is easy, but it's about how you start to show up in the world. Are you authentic? Are you a woman of integrity? Do you have the skills and talents that you actually enjoy taking part in? Or are you living your life for someone else? Or someone's else? Are you living your life for a certain way the community is expecting you to show up and it's not authentic to you? Because the more authentic you can be, the more love that you will create for yourself. The more authentic you can be, the more love you will create for yourself. And it really is a great way to show up in the world because nobody is like you. Nobody. There isn't one other person on the planet that has your exact makeup. Even if you're an identical twin, there are things that are different about the two of you. Something somewhere is different. The way your perspective is. So when I first started my personal development journey back in the mid-90s, I was full steam ahead in trying to fix my relationships. And I started to realize in that journey, it was me that had to change. And in order for me to change, I had to take charge. I had to get in the driver's seat and make decisions. I had to make decisions that made me happy, but not in spite or not in sacrifice of someone else. But it was a lot about who am I? Who am I as a person? How do I want to show up as a girlfriend? How do I want to show up as a mother? How do I want to show up as a sister or a daughter? And I got to define that. I got to take the time and look around me and say, okay, well, this person does this with their kids or their spouse or their parents or whatever, and this person does this. How do I, Jen, want to show up? So ask yourself that. Think about that and maybe journal on it or meditate upon that concept is how do I want to show up in the world? And then start making some changes, some small changes even, that start to move you and mold you in that direction. I wanted to show up, and believe it or not, I come across very confidently now in my, the second half of my life, but But I think I wanted to be more confident. And in order to be confident, I had to decide, what do I need that is going to create that confidence? And I decided that I had to learn more. I had to know more stuff about stuff. And so I took learning to a whole new level. Getting books like crazy, reading like crazy, learning like crazy. And as soon as the internet exploded and I finally got a computer, I was like bringing in knowledge left and right. When I had a problem with something, I was YouTubing it, I was Googling it, I was getting a book, I was reading a blog, I was listening to an audio. I mean, I was sucking in this information. You ask me a question pretty much about anything, and I probably have the answer. Now, in the personal development field, you ask me about Bitcoin, I don't know anything about that. You ask me about stocks or bonds, I don't know anything about that. But you ask me about relationships, you ask me about self-love, you ask me about meditating, you ask me about how to make your life better in certain areas, you ask me about how to build your business and create long-lasting abundance and prosperity. I can tell you that. I can share that with you. You say you have trouble with your kids, I can help you with parenting. You tell me you have trouble with your relationship with your mom, I can help you with that. So I can help you with the important things. The rest of it is just a skill. So I can share the knowledge with you, and I can share the truth with you. But if you want to be more confident, and if you want to like yourself, and you want to get to that place of total acceptance, what do you have to learn? How do you want to show up? And if you want to show up differently than where you are right now, I ask you, what is it that you have to learn? Because there's going to be a few changes that you'll have to make. I had to make some changes. The person I was becoming and that I was showing up in my relationships was this person that I didn't even respect. This person that was highly emotional, very sensitive, but not in a good way. Not in a good way. Easily offended, very clingy, very dramatic, and it was a person that I didn't respect. If I wouldn't date somebody who was like that, and I didn't want to be somebody who was like that. So now that tells me I have to change. And with that relationship book that I bought in like 96 or 98, whatever year I bought that book, I had to make some changes. And reading between those two covers, I understood it was me that was going to make the changes. If I want to get to a place where I totally love and accept myself unconditionally, mistakes and all, flaws and all, scars and all, then I had to change. I had to do something different. I had to act different. I had to learn different ways to deal with things. I had to learn different ways to engage with people. I was very negative, believe it or not. I had so much crap going on between my ears that I was offended by pretty much everything from anybody. And no matter what they said to me, I was offended somehow. Whether it was tone, the way they looked at me, the way they said anything, I was very alone. I was very alone in this state because I didn't like myself at all. And when you're in that kind of frame of mind where you don't like yourself, of course you're going to be alone because you're with yourself 100% of the time. And if you don't like yourself, anytime that you are out and about, anytime that you are dealing with problems, you're not going to like yourself. So what do? Well, if there's something that you need to learn, well, let me ask you this. Where are you showing up in your life where you do like yourself? Where are you showing up that you feel pretty damn good? Or is it a mother? Is it a sister, a daughter, a best friend, a partner, where you are like, you know what? I'm really amazing at this. And I really love the way I blank. I really love the way that I am a partner to my husband or my wife. I really love the way that I am with my kids. I really love the way I am at work. I'm really positive and upbeat and relaxed at work. But when I come home, I'm like shitty and complainy and messy and impatient. So bring some of those skills back with you. Why are you at work a different way than you're at home? Why don't we show up at home like our best selves? Well, because our people at home, they love us no matter what. If we set the stage correctly, they love us no matter what, right? Well, what about you though? Do you love you? Do you love the way that you're showing up? Do you love the things that you say, the way that you engage with people? And I imagine that some of this is probably a big fat no. You know, there's certain situations, we get tired, we get crabby, we don't feel good, we're in pain. And of course we lash out, we become impatient, we lash out to those we love. Well, you can change that. Maybe not 100%, but you certainly can become 100% better. You certainly can become 100% more likable or 100% more patient. So take the things that you want to improve on, a certain area of your life that you want to just see shift and change just a little bit. I want to get better at this relationship. I want to get better at showing up as this type of person. And then say, what kind of person would make me feel more acceptance if I showed up like that? And whatever that is. And then take 1 or 2 steps to become more like that person that you want to become. In my relationships, the thing I hated the most was how clingy and emotional I was. Like every time something was going, I'm like, wait, are you breaking up with me? Oh my God, I can't believe we're breaking up. You said we were going to be together forever. And I was like whiny and crybaby and like emotional all the time. I hated that about myself. So I changed it. I became more confident, more likable, more positive. I kept my emotions in check as much as I could. Of course, they get away from us sometimes. It happens. But I became the person that I would love to hang around with. So I suggest just getting a journal and spending a little bit of time writing some notes down and writing some things down that can assist you in this journey. Is like, how do I want to show up in the world, even in general? And then give some general ideas. I wanted to be more confident. I wanted to be smart, and I wanted to be rich. I want more money because I want to give back and I want to share more. And I want to be able to create things that I can share with my clients and with my family. And in order to do that and to live fully and to experience this life as best as I can, I need money to do that. Just like you do. You need money to do that. And I wanted to be more confident, and I wanted to step into my leadership role. And in order to do that, I needed to make some changes. So I figured out what those changes were. And I want to help you to figure out what those changes are. And we're doing that. We're starting to talk about manifesting. And in order to do that, we have to be different people in order to manifest the things that we want in our lives. We have to show up differently. And we're going to start talking about that in our sister circles. And I hope that you're either already a part of our Lady Rising group, or you are interested and you'll come over into our Lady Rising group that's on Facebook and join our sister circle. We hold these sister circle calls twice or 3 times a month. It's like every other week, and it just depends on how many weeks there are in any given month. And we help each other and support each other while we shift and change to become the women that we want to become. So I hope you'll start to begin to make that list and to step into that space that says, you know what, I do want to shift and change, and I do want to become 100% accepting of myself, pain and all, scars and all, flaws and all. And I want to move into that space, because once we totally and unconditionally accept ourselves, not only can we elevate our lives in every single area, but we become confident on this planet. And I want nothing more than that for you. So I hope you'll join us on a call, even if you just come in and just share with us a little bit and become part of our growing community. And that way you can also help support some of the other girls on our call. I hope to see you in your flaws and all. If you liked this episode and you look forward to future episodes and are really looking for a community to help support you with implementing the tools that we're talking about in this podcast, please consider joining our online sister community called Lady Rising on Facebook, where we focus on that spiritual support and connection, just like in today's episode. I hope you'll join us. Go to Facebook, type in Lady Rising, and tell me you came in through the podcast.